Shalom and good day, this is Tehillim29 back again for another DC comic review, and for this DC comic review I'm covering issue 1 and issue 2 of Young Justice Targets. And I must admit, these are some pretty good issues. So I'll get things organized to cover the first issue and also the second issue, starting off with the first issue. Now, to those who don't know, this is actually connected to the Young Justice animated series. So this is a story that takes place in the animated universe, and we'll get to see quite a lot of what happens here. So first things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside with the story? Sure enough, it does, to which I give it a straight 7.5 out of 10. That's right, a 7.5 out of 10. But you'll understand why. So let's have a look around the beginning, middle, and of course the end in relation to the internal art, and also what's happening story-wise. So as the story begins, we've got Garfield, or should we say Beast Boy, communicating with one of his friends. And look who makes their appearance on the scene. That's right, it's Stargirl, a Geoff Johns creation. And we also get an indication and location as to where everything is taking place. Fantastic work by the author, or by the writer of this. As the story progresses, we end up getting a bit of a jailbreak of sorts in Markovia, returning to Star City, meeting up with one of the doctors at Star Labs, we get another break-in, and of course we've got a Clayface making an appearance, and of course we have Green Arrow. As things continue, Green Arrow gets struck, and we learn that he's a target of sort. But he's not the only target. So the battle continues, and last but not least, we're left towards the end of the story. Now some things a little after the story, and we see the Sportmaster involved. Story continues, and finally we move to an end. So for the internal art, I must say it's just as consistent with the cover art, which I gave a 7.5. Now it's time to move into the area of the location of the story. Did we get any indication of time? Because this is a story connected to a new run. Did we get any indication of time? Yes, we did. The time consisting of November the 11th, and we also got a bit of a time which was about 12:32 PST, and we also got a bit of a flashback to November 9th at around 8 PST. The locations that were explored in this story were Hollywood, Star City, and Markovberg from Markovia. The cast of characters consisting of Beast Boy, Stargirl, of course the Harpers, so those who make up the bowstring security. We had Count Vertigo, Dr. X, Dr. Rocket. We also had Clayface and Green Arrow, who was the target in this. For the overall story rating, I gave this a 7.5 out of 10. That was fantastic. It was simple. It was well executed. This is a detective comic. And I liked how you were able to follow the plot of the storyline and not get confused with anything. Fantastic job. Now it's time to move into issue 2. So, as we begin issue 2, as you can see here, I managed to get 2 covers this time around. One the regular as well as the variant. First things first, do these covers in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of a story? Sure enough, the first one does, but the second one, a little bit, but not so much. So for the first cover on the left-hand side, a 7.5 out of 10. But for the second cover, absolutely incredible variant, a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the internal art, and I'll do the same thing which I did with the last issue, as we look all the way through the issue, having a look at the art as well as the story and what's happening in the story. And then the art rating will happen, and then eventually moving back into the story rating. So as the story begins, we have, I believe that's Cat Grant, giving this report, and she's letting us know that Queen Perdita has been abducted, and that happened in the last issue. So as things continue, here we go, we return to Star City. We also know the date and the time. On top of that, we can also see that we're at a hospital, to which a number of them have actually been taken to hospital because of the events. And because of this story, we actually do a little bit of traveling, so we end up going to Hollywood. Of course, the Watchtower, Markovia, back to Paris. So as we return, we end up catching up with who is at Markovia, to which we have Geoforce, Everyman, Kobold, Fury, and Trajectory. And we get to have a bit of a look at their costumes. As things continue, we end up going up to the Watchtower and what's happening there and who's there. We start to see what Geoforce is up to. And we finally move to some of the escaped prisoners. Of course, another small brawl breaks out. And of course, finally the rescue of Perdita. Returning to the end, we get to see what's happening with Ollie, or Oliver Queen at Star City. We move a little bit further, as what we're looking at here is a memory that he's actually having. And last but not least, towards the end. I must admit, I absolutely enjoyed the second issue as much as I enjoyed the first. So for the internal art in this story, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story and its rating and what makes up the rating. First things first is the area of time. We learn in this area of time that it still takes place in on November 9th, and we also seem to carry over with what things are occurring at 6 p.m. or 6:01 p.m. and so we end up seeing some things that happen in between that time, and we progress of what is happening there. Moving into the area of locations, we still see Hollywood, Star City, of course, the Watchtower, Paris, Markovia, and Markovburg, one of their cities. Next thing we have is the Harpers, Dr. Sterling in the area of the cast. Of course, we had Cat Grant, Green Arrow, of course. We, of course, had Geoforce and his members, Everyman, Kobold, Fury, Trajectory. We also had the appearance of Cyborg Dr. Fate made an appearance. There was talk of the character of 13. We also had Nightwing and one more person. I wrote it really badly, but I'll have to give that one a miss then. My overall story rating for this, I gave a 7.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this, and I'm looking forward to the third issue and the fourth issue, which will be the next ones that will be reviewed. Well, until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.